Mission Impossible movie, the 7th to be exact. And I think the trailers have been okay. The Mission Impossible trailers are never like mind-boggling like the Batman trailers were, for instance. And I think you're not prepared for how good this movie is. I didn't think Fallout could be topped, but I'm so delighted that it could be, because this movie, I mean, you really are not ready. It's incredible. So where I want to start my story is that my dad is a huge Mission Impossible fan. And I decided it would be a real treat for both of us to take him to the press screening for this latest film. Boy, did that turn out to be a great idea. After the opening sequence, my dad turned to me and exclaimed quite loudly in a very quiet theater, "That was the best opening for a movie ever." I've rarely seen my dad this excited. And then whenever the Mission Impossible theme song played during the movie, we did a little dance in our seats. We were like, do, 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 and like rubbing our elbows. It was so fun. I mean, it was totally inappropriate behavior for a press screening, but we were having such a good time, we didn't care. Other people around us were having a good time too, and they were kind of talking a little bit as well, so it's just that kind of movie. Even during a press screening, you can't contain yourself. I had to actually, it's interesting, it was the exact same theater where I saw Top Gun Maverick, where I was also on the edge of my seat and like moving around. I saw that by myself. And this is like a little bit more fun, but it's, I think, as well made as Top Gun Maverick. So not only did I absolutely adore the latest Mission Impossible, but taking my dad to the press screening created a memory I will never forget. So the movie will always have a special place in my heart for that reason alone. But it's also a really good movie. Now, as I said, I thought there would be no topping Fallout, which I saw 3 times in theaters, twice in IMAX, where Christopher McQuarrie, how far he's come, had clearly studied Christopher Nolan, just as Sam Mendes did for his Bond movies, all cut from kind of the same cloth, right? And Nolan, of course, has made it no secret that his goal one day is to direct a Bond movie. I don't know if he'll ever get there, but, hopefully. But I think what sets McQuarrie apart is that he has brighter, slicker, and more elegant visuals. While Bond has gotten grittier, I think in a response to Nolan's success, Mission Impossible has the self-confidence, especially this installment, to be a little different, and this one plays like a glossy issue of the Robb Report. If you're not familiar with the Robb Report, it is a luxury magazine which spotlights the toys of the rich and famous. It's fabulous, and this plays like it's right out of the pages of the Robb Report. Now, I hope nobody ruins for you the surprise villain of the film. I've already seen a couple of people tweeting about it, and that's unfortunate. It is revealed right away in the opening sequence. Some of you might be like, I didn't know there was a surprise villain, Grace. You ruined it with that alone. It's right in the opening. But Paramount has managed to keep it a secret from the trailers and all the publicity. And it was a wonderful surprise. It's not Henry Cavill. I don't want you to get your hopes up, even though he is being teased maybe for the next installment, which is coming out next summer. But Henry Cavill is not in this movie. But I thought it was quite clever, and I was shocked at how timely the movie manages to be. I was like, well, how did Christopher McQuarrie predict this? Because, of course, this movie was written a while back and has been shooting throughout the pandemic. It's been delayed, like a lot of movies have. Do I think the surprise villain is perfectly executed? No, actually, I do not. No, even though I love the movie so much. And we'll discuss that in the spoiler review. I think another issue with the villain side is that S.A. Morales and Pom Klementieff in really a blatant Harley Quinn ripoff, which I think is actually somewhat embarrassing for the film. I'm like, you're just ripping off Harley Quinn, and you've added nothing interesting, so it's just a ripoff. I think Pom Klementieff is better than that. I was sad to have to see her do that. But they're both very weak in the film. So the villain side, it's really interesting and timely, but it's not totally clicking. Then I have one other issue with the film, and I have to bring it up. Don't worry, as I said, I love this movie, but it's a quibble. So as you might recall, Mission Impossible in particular came under fire a while back for keeping all of its male characters film to film, yet swapping out the female lead with each installment. So to combat that, they wonderfully brought in Rebecca Ferguson, who they'd kept at this point for 3 movies. That's all I'll say. We'll discuss it in the spoiler review. But I just want to say, I guess what I want to add, and the reason I'm so upset about it, is that I think they kind of undo all the goodwill created by bringing Rebecca Ferguson on and keeping her for so long. And from a female perspective, there are a couple of moments in this movie that I think were pretty cringe. I was like, that's real unfortunate. But it's okay. I got past it because the movie's so good. I was like, that really is insulting, but whatever, I'm having such a good time. Especially also because a lot of the female characters here are so excellent. Vanessa Kirby is back too, our Sue Storm, I told you I heard. I'm so glad. And I hope when you watch this movie, you start to think of her in that role. She's a wonderfully talented actress who is on the rise. It's taken her a little bit of time, but I'm glad she stuck with it and is finally getting there. We'll talk about Hayley Atwell in a moment. But actually, Vanessa Kirby has more to do this time around. And she has a very funny extended sequence that, again, I can't wait to discuss with you in the spoiler review. Now let's talk about Hayley Atwell. Wow! I suddenly understand what Cap saw on her. Atwell is a breath of fresh air for this franchise. She looks amazing, and her performance has a lightness to it, both comedic and a breeziness is the best way I can describe it, that I've never seen with her before. She totally holds her own opposite Tom Cruise, and I'm so glad that she also has stuck with it over a decade after First Avenger and has landed this role. I'm so happy for her. Tom Cruise is, as he has been for a while now, just above and beyond. After struggling for a few years there, he seems to have finally found a new sweet spot, and he is getting extremely good at this type of movie. Again, you don't think he could top himself, but he consistently does. Many are saying, some of my friends in the industry, and I see some of you online saying it, are saying he's the last true movie star. And I gotta tell you, they might be right. He commands the screen, and he commands it not just because he's talented, but because he works so hard to do so. You gotta admire the hustle. Not only doing his own stunts yet again, but adding sleight of hand magic, that actually plays a huge part in this movie, and it never got old. I was really enjoying it. It made me actually kind of want to learn it. I was like, if all these actors can do it, maybe I can too. Along with a lot of comedic elements. I don't think the Mission Impossible franchise gets enough credit for how funny it is, with credit belonging to writer-director McQuarrie, as well as Cruise, who's a very good comedian, along with Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg. This trio has built up an amazing rapport at this point, and they are a joy to watch. I really, really love them. One of the main reasons that this Mission Impossible is so good is that Tom Cruise, star and producer, refuses to rest on his laurels. He just keeps pushing. He wants to do better and better, and not just in certain areas, but on every single level. And amazingly, he actually accomplishes that. Again, I saw no path forward to improve on Fallout, and now I see it, and it's incredible. Even from the opening shot, it starts out like under the ice, and it's just so beautiful. It looks like diamonds. It's so gorgeous. It's so cool. It's also nice that he not only has developed a team, but keeps adding to it. This is his third Mission Impossible with Christopher McQuarrie, who I believe he started working with on Valkyrie. So they're not all winners. Joseph Kosinski did like Oblivion with him, which also wasn't great, but look how Top Gun Maverick turned out. And Christopher McQuarrie, by the way, also contributed to Top Gun Maverick, even though he didn't direct it. And I was ecstatic to see Charles Parnell with a small part here after appearing in Top Gun Maverick. He's great. He got Barry off of Top Gun Maverick too, but I'm glad that Tom Cruise is taking him along with him. Parnell's whole scene, by the way, is full of really fun cameos that I hope nobody ruins for you. I was like, this is such a treat. A fabulous addition to the Mission Impossible franchise is Shea Whigham, who actually has a very substantial role, who I've been a fan of for quite some time, all the way back to Boardwalk Empire. I was like, who is this guy? I love him. This is the best role I've seen him have since Boardwalk Empire. He and his partner, played by Greg Tarzan Davis, who is also very good, but it's a smaller role. And by the way, he was also in Top Gun Maverick. But they are trying to track down Ethan Hunt for the U.S. government. Whigham has slimmed down and muscled up a bit, and that, along with his likable everyman quality, but also the glint of mischievousness that he has, it makes him a very believable and fun foil for Ethan Hunt. I really like Shea Whigham, as you can see, and I'm as happy for him as I am for Vanessa Kirby and Hayley Atwell. I love seeing working actors finally break through in major franchises and get to level up like that. It's a joy. And I really applaud Tom Cruise for doing the work to find these diamonds in the rough and shine them all up and put them in his movie. When it comes to smarmy government agents, Carrie Elwes oozes deliciously, and it is really a treat to have Henry Czerny back, however you pronounce it, from the original Mission Impossible movie all the way back in 1996. 27 years! And one of the neat things about the Mission Impossible franchise is that while you can totally enjoy it as is, you don't have to have seen any of the previous movies, it does reward fans of the franchise with little Easter eggs and references here and there. It also is careful to still pay homage to the original TV series, but at the same time still feels not just modern, but cutting edge. On that note, let's talk action sequences. This movie is constantly moving from start to finish and always working on multiple levels, which really keeps you engaged throughout. You're trying to solve out how you can get out of the situation, how you can figure out the puzzle they're dealing with. It's fantastic. John Wick has really raised the bar when it comes to action sequences. And while Extraction 2 managed to match John Wick in terms of fight choreography, long takes, and complex hand-to-hand combat action sequences, Mission Impossible is a little bit different. It doesn't really have the hand-to-hand combat, but it makes up for that with locations like John Wick has, but also mind-boggling scenarios where you're like, this is nuts! Only Tom Cruise could do this. And it's fun that very often Tom Cruise allows Ethan Hunt to also be absolutely in shock as to what he has to do. Aside from the tense incredible opening, which I thought was amazing too, just like my dad did, the foot chase through the Dubai airport is extremely well done. I love that. The car chase through Rome. So that's a foot chase, and then there's a car chase in Rome, which is one of the best car chases I've ever seen. The Venice sequence is only okay, but a lot of big stuff happens there. But then the third act, which takes place almost entirely on the Orient Express, not just one of the best train action sequences I've ever seen, but I think maybe the best. Extraction 2's train sequence, by the way, interestingly enough, is runner-up. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny has a train sequence, which is also, it's good, but it just can't compete with these two and has the unfortunate luck of coming out at the same time. So you compare them and you're like, I've just seen two much better train action sequences. And also, they both keep going, but the Tom Cruise one really keeps going. It was amazing. And really, the whole movie is just visually stunning. Fallout had a similar grittiness to Nolan's work, but here, as I said, McQuarrie goes for the gloss. So he's kind of blending Nolan with Hitchcock, so obviously I absolutely adore that. This movie is like a modern To Catch a Thief or North by Northwest. It's also, like Top Gun Maverick, harkening back to some of the 1980s and 90s action movies. Ironically, in particular, the work of Harrison Ford. So again, while Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is very modern, it also has a timeless feel to it as well. You know, you're like, wow, I didn't think they still made movies like this anymore, and they're better than ever. And it's only part one! That's right, just like Fast X and Spider-Verse, also out this same summer. But while those movies ended their part ones on a record scratch, here it's more that the mission simply isn't complete. But you still feel it's still a very satisfying movie-going experience. Like when I saw those other two movies, like right away, you were like, roll part 2, I want to see what happens. But here, you're happy to wait and to bask in the brilliance of this film. Probably see it a couple more times and be very happy to know that you have another great film and perhaps an even better one than this waiting for you the very next summer. So amazing. Again, as I said, you just can't fathom how good this movie is because it seems impossible, Mission Impossible, that Tom Cruise could top his last two films. So that's my non-spoiler review of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Not a perfect film, but one of the summer's best. Well, you'll see my top 10 ranking for the year so far shortly, as well as one of Tom Cruise's best. And you know, I'm very high on it right now, so I'm like, that's the most amazing movie Tom Cruise has ever made. He's made a lot of great movies, but that it's up there, I think that really says something. So I would definitely catch this in theaters and try and get it on a premium screen as fast as you can, because as we all know, Barbenheimer is coming, and so the premium screens are going to get divvied up amongst all three of them. But this is a phenomenal film. All right, share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.